If any chaotic events in your life started in November, this is likely when they will end. This is at least the firm beginning of the end, as you phase out that unhealthy or just expired attachment. If you're excited to dive into what we can exactly expect from this lunar eclipse in Scorpio this May, make sure that you like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so that you are always up to date with what the stars have in store for you. If you're new here, hello, I am Maren. I am a Western astrologer using the tropical zodiac and whole sign houses. I also offer private readings and also exclusive content, including daily horoscopes down below. You can find links to both my readings and my exclusive content at passes in the description below. We're gonna first run through the overall vibe and reasons for the energy of this eclipse. Then we will run through specifically what it means for you with your sign. If you have not already seen your individual forecast for this May, do know that every month I make rising sign videos for each of the rising signs where I describe how this is showing up in your life along with everything else happening. So to get right into it, this is happening on May 5th, 2023 at 10:34 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, aka 1:34 p.m. Eastern Time on May 5th. It is happening at 14 degrees and 58 minutes at Scorpio and Taurus, meaning that it's pretty much right down the middle of these fixed signs. Now, eclipses are the pivotal catalyst disruptive events of the year. They tend to define the events that mark what we remember about the year in the world dynamics. And with this being in the two fixed signs, or there's four fixed signs, but in two fixed signs of Taurus and Scorpio, I always find that fixed sign eclipses are some of the most disruptive or groundbreaking because fixed signs, by nature of being the middle of their season, very dependable, very sturdy, the fixed signs do not like to have shit shake up. They do not like to have anything change, let alone huge disruptions. So fixed sign eclipses tend to be some of the most marked, groundbreaking disruptions of the year because it's not usually an area of our life or our world that we particularly want to change shit with. So you can check the Scorpio house in your chart for where there's going to be a massive change or just something really pivotally ending. We'll get through that all at the end of the video though to specify how it's happening in your life in your chart. And lunar eclipses are always full moons. So if you hear someone say that this is a full moon in Scorpio, they're technically right, but it is a lunar eclipse which is more powerful, more pivotal, and on a much greater scale. The thing about eclipses is that they are 6 months duration. So this will start on May 5th and the effects or the life story will be playing out over the next 6 months. But lunar eclipses are always endings because full moons are endings. So it's kind of like the beginning of the end is starting now. It's just such a big theme in your life that it will take about 6 months to fully phase out or transition into the next thing, replacing or continuing off of that. Now, in early November 2022, there was a solar eclipse in Scorpio, which was the first part of this year-long kind of cycle where there was a growth period from November until May, and now from May until next November, there is a dying out or closure period. So in early November, I personally remember that we had the FTX collapse and fiasco, meaning that we're likely to see more closure, more wrapping up, and more proceedings around that FTX scandal in particular early May that will lead us into the next chapter of financial developments leading off of the tails of that. Now, since this is in Scorpio, the fixed water sign of the concentration of emotion, I'm expecting quite a lot of emotional release and grieving or cutting ties in a way that feels very, very personal. Because Scorpio, like I said, is not easily giving up hold or not easily, letting things go, this may feel like pulling teeth or finally reaching your breaking point that you did not want to get to during this eclipse. A lunar eclipse in Scorpio is definitely very emotionally purging and quite heartfelt, quite I literally think of it as like throwing up your feelings, but we're likely eager to finally get rid of either this toxicity, which I know is an overused word, but very relevant for a full moon or a lunar eclipse in Scorpio, or something else that was emotionally an attachment and has now expired in our life. Now, with this happening in the second decan of Scorpio or the middle third, it is associated with the Six of Cups tarot card, which is also called the Lord of Pleasure. And thankfully, this is actually a little bit of a direct, simple, uncomplicated part of the zodiac. It is co-ruled by the sun. Now, Scorpio is completely ruled by Mars, but this decan has a little bit of influence by the sun, which gives it a little bit more lightness and a little bit more invigoration or energy. So this being called the Lord of Pleasure with the Six of Cups tarot card is pretty positive and pretty much showing an emotional exchange that is upbeat or is worth it. So with this momentum, momentum of exchange and relationship demonstrated here, this looks like a relationship or dynamic that served its purpose, and we are now departing it. It served its purpose, we had the exchange, it was quite intense, it could have been fulfilling or quite dynamic and quite intense. And this is not necessarily romantic. In fact, like in many of our charts, most of our charts, this is going to be non-romantic unless you are a Taurus or a Cancer rising. But with this being a pretty like social exchange level, like pleasureful card, looks like we had this, we had the interaction, it is now too heavy and it has passed its due date to be done with. So the sun is in the opposite sign of Taurus, meaning that it is 180 degrees away, always present during lunar eclipses or full moons. And the sun in Taurus will be conjunct Uranus and Mercury, which adds a lot of dynamic color to this eclipse, because the sun in Taurus shows that we are focusing on the stability or the groundedness of the other, of the reciprocation of the situation. So if the full moon lunar eclipse is happening in Scorpio, then there's a lot of volatility on this side of things, but on the other side of our life, there's a lot more stability and we're looking towards that. However, the sun is conjunct Uranus, which is the planet of chaos and disruption, and also Mercury, which is communication and intellect. So it looks like what is spurring this dynamic is sudden disruptive behavior and abrasive communication from another party. So our response is to remove or to phase out the situation because the other side of it is acting erratically and with abrupt communication that does not feel like it is, it's not fit for what we're expecting. So you're like, yeah, okay, I'm out. This is the last straw. We're gonna phase this out. It does not seem particularly unprofessional or particularly violent, but it does look disruptive with communication from the other party, which leads you to make the decision to exit. Now, the second decan of Taurus, where the sun is, right in the middle of Taurus, it's called the Decan of Success or the Lord of Success, the Six of Pentacles tarot card. It's associated with the Six of Pentacles, which is actually co-ruled by the moon. So Venus rules Taurus, but this decan has rulership by the moon, and the moon is exalted in Taurus. So it actually shows a pretty fortunate shift of events into material success where we have made something from this. So I don't see this being a negative or an eclipse that feels like, oh my God, I can't believe this is ending. It's just like, it served its purpose. I got what I wanted out of this. We definitely got to this high point. We are now done here. And we're weighing out the pros and the cons, and feels like when you hear in the public, it's like there was not a violent divorce. It's a mutual separation. And you're like, okay, great. Like, who are they gonna date next? So with that, there's a pretty sustainable ebb and flow here where it does not seem like we are traumatized. It seems like this has now been thrown out of balance. We need to recenter. And with Mercury on the North Node, the North Node amplifies and Mercury's communication. So the impetus for this departure will likely be abrasive communication that we suddenly receive from someone else that propels us into a new direction. So the other party or flip side of the situation is likely going to give us some abrasive communication. Now, Venus, which will be squaring Neptune, shows that we may have been delusional in this relationship or in this dynamic, because Venus squaring Neptune is Venus, our direct love and value, at odds with higher level inspiration and spirituality. It's an aspect of delusion. If you have a Venus-Neptune contact, like I kind of do, it's not the most straightforward in relationships. It can mean that we idolize or we put on a pedestal and we want to see what we want to see. So in this dynamic, we likely thought that things were they were so good. They were too good to be true, actually. And they were. So this is going to show the rose-colored glasses coming off, or the purity not being there that we had imagined at first. Thankfully, Jupiter will be sextiling Venus, which shows the opportunity for the wisdom to come out of this, where we see the higher vision. And honestly, Mars being in Cancer is annoying for being direct, but is good for being compassionate. Mars in Cancer is in its fall, which is a challenging position for being direct, assertive, and accomplished with our actions. However, with Mars in Cancer, especially having Jupiter in a superior square, shows that there's optimism and wisdom in our actions, even if we're not the most direct with them. I do not recommend manifesting. I never fucking recommend manifesting around eclipses. Do whatever you want. If I say not to do something, I know that everyone's gonna be like, oh, I'm gonna do it. Like, that's kind of the thing that humans do. However, with eclipses, the analogy I like to use is trying to light a match in a wildfire. You will light the match in the wildfire. You are also going to burn to death with it. I don't think that that's the result that you're looking for. It's not to say that you need to kill yourself and hide during an eclipse because you just can't bear to do anything. But I'm saying if there's a way to not launch the most major thing in your entire life during an eclipse, I would ideally do that. There's some things that I'm gonna have to put out during this time that I think are gonna have to be out during an eclipse. I am gonna be ready for the insanity of that. So if similarly you cannot help but launch, manifest, start anything, know that there's gonna be fucking asterisks, like the footnotes, a lot of I don't wanna say complications, but like fuckery coming along the tails of this. It's not bad. I mean, I was born under, like, right after a solar eclipse, so you can kind of see I'm a good, me, Donald Trump, Ram Dass, we're all born under any solar eclipse. It's a little bit different. Or no, Donald Trump's lunar eclipse. Anyway, eclipse babies or eclipse manifestations come with an amount of disruptive chaos that they are like a comet that just burns a lot of things beside them. Doesn't mean you're a bad person if you're born under an eclipse. Doesn't mean that your manifestation is going to be fucked up or anything. It just means you're going to be like, oh my God, the casualties, the collateral damage is severe from things that are started under eclipses. Now, there's going to be things I have to put out during this. Maybe things have already started coming out around this that you've heard of. If so, very exciting. I'm already prepared for the eclipse fallout of these things. Actually, one of my favorite, I think the favorite thing that I'm putting out will have to be during eclipse season, which is just that. If you're born under an eclipse, frankly, you might be more well equipped to deal with this fuckery. Now we're going to run through what it means for your sign, but before that, you know, if you have any thoughts around what this means, your feelings around this eclipse, so you think it already could be, comment down below. We will now get into the rising signs and the area of life it will be activating for you. This will be mentioned fully in your May 2023 rising sign forecast if you want to see that. But in the meantime, we can run through what it means starting with Scorpio risings. So if you're a Scorpio rising, this is happening in your first house of self, meaning that you yourself are like, I'm cutting ties with this relationship. I am over the behavior. I am ready to choose myself and be more independent in this way, and feels like you're now stepping up into more alignment with yourself. If you are a Sagittarius rising, this will be happening in your 12th house of mental health and spirituality, where you might be ready to cut ties with a practice, a day-to-day routine, an addiction, a coping mechanism where you're like, I am done with that. I want to better my health. I want to better my situation. We're not fucking around anymore. We are cutting ties with that chapter. If you are a Capricorn rising, this is happening in your 11th house of groups, friends, and networking. You're finally probably ready to cut ties or leave a sort of network connection or group affiliation that you're a part of. I'm a Capricorn rising, and I can kind of already see the general gist of things that I will be departing from during this time as some other things come out. It's kind of like socially cutting ties with a certain affiliation. If you are an Aquarius rising, this will be in your 10th house of career. So you're probably phasing out something to do with your career starting in May. If you are a Pisces rising, this will be in your 9th house of foreign travel, higher education, or religion. So you could be ending a chapter on school, you could be graduating, you could be ending a travel or study abroad sector of your life, or you might be leaving the church, so to speak, and letting go of a belief system that you're now phasing out. If you are an Aries rising, this will be happening in your 8th house of shared finances, investments, and deaths. Do not freak out on me here. This does not mean anyone's dying in your life. If someone has already died over the fall, this will likely show the ending of the proceedings, of the inheritance, of the things regarding their death around this time. But for most people, this will deal with like selling off assets, investments, loans, taxes. You're paying off a chapter in that and it's ending. If you're a Taurus rising, this will be happening in your 7th house of one-on-one relationships and partnerships, meaning that your partner may decide that the chapter is ending. It may deal more with them and their actions. It looks like you might be the one that's acting erratically or all of a sudden communicating something that leads them to end the chapter. It does not look specifically romantic. Now, if you are a Gemini rising, this will be in your 6th house of coworkers, pets, and health. So it could be that you are ending a chapter of coworkers or people that you've hired. Could be that something is ending around pets. It doesn't look like pets dying. It just looks like something's ending. Or for a lot of you, it could be something around physical health where you're done working out or lifestyle in a certain way. If you are a Cancer rising, this will be in your 5th house of dating, creativity, and romance, or kids. So it looks like something is ending around a romantic relationship. Could be that the things aren't adding up and you're ending that. Could be that creatively you're done with a project, you're putting it out into the world and you're finishing up and letting everyone see like what you've created, so that's ending. Or it could be that something's ending with your kids, like their school or like a part of their life. If you are a Leo rising, this will be in your 4th house of home, family, and property, meaning that you might be ending a chapter at home with family, moving. Something is ending around the foundations of your life. If you're a Virgo rising, this will be in your 3rd house of day-to-day routine, communication, and writing. So something that is content related, writing, or information related in your life is ending. This can either be something you're creating or an information news source that you're reading that is phasing out. And if you are a Libra rising, this will be in your 2nd house of income and finances, where a certain income stream is likely ending or you're no longer spending money in a certain way. So if you have any thoughts, do let me know down below how you feel about this for your sign and what you are thinking about this eclipse. Otherwise, do make sure that you like and subscribe. It does help out, and I will see you in the next one, which is a pretty nice new moon.
Oh, but there is one thing